friends, it's Christy. Welcome to day 3 of my 2019 Valentine Card Series. Today I'm going to be making a card using Lawn Fawn's Beep Boop Birthday. It's a cute little robot set. And then I also have a heart from Flamingo Together. I've stamped my images out on some Copic friendly cardstock since I'll be coloring with my Copic markers today. And I'm starting with the metallic parts of my robots. For those, I'm using C0, C1, and C3. I started with my C3 and laid in some shadows, and I'm actually going to have one of these be a boy and one be a girl. So I'm starting on the boy robot first. So once my shadows were laid in with the C3, I blended those out with the C1, and then I'm going to pull that color over to the left with the C0. I didn't feel like there was quite enough contrast, so I did go back in with a second layer, just using the C3 and the C1. I didn't bother with the C0 again. So I'm going to do the same with my girl robot, except for her, I'm going to shade her on the left-hand side since she will be on the left side of the card. So the shadow is actually going to be on the outer edges and the light source in the center between them, kind of almost as if the heart is the light source. So I'm going to just do the same exact steps that I did on the boy, starting with the C3, blending out with the C1, and finishing with the C0. And again, just like him, I'm going to go in with a second layer just to add a little bit more depth to those shadows, just real quick on the side of her face, and under her chin, and alongside the left side of her body, and then pulling that color over with the C1 once again. The next combination I'm using is B00, B21, and B23. And I'm using the B23 to color in all the other little pieces of my boy robot. Then I'm going to pull that color over to the left with the B21. And then I'm going to jump down to that B00, which is a really pale shade, but it really softens these colors up and makes them blend nicely. So I'm just coloring in all those little accessory pieces. I did forget to color in his buttons, but I'll go back and do those later. So for the girls' little accessories, I'm using R81, R83, and R85, and just doing the same thing except going from the left to the right. And then on the wheel, I picked 2 spots, one on the top left and one on the bottom right, to kind of give it a little bit of motion. For the heart, I'm using R29, R39, and R59, and I'm going to add that R59 down in the bottom right corner, and then I'll blend upward towards the top left with that R39, and then finish with the R29, which gives it that nice bright pop of color. And then I'll just grab that B23 like I mentioned and fill in the boy robot's buttons. And then I'll trim these out with the matching dies. For my focal panel, I've got a piece of narwhal cardstock, and I'm going to stamp with Lawn Fawn's Hippo ink. I'm using the sentiment that says beep boop, and then a bunch of the little gears and bolts, and there's a tiny little heart in there as well. And I'm just going to stamp those down twice since this ink does dry back a little bit. And then I'm going to reposition all of those images and stamp down again. And I'm going to just continue this process until I've filled up most of the entire background. I'm going to leave the areas where the robots will be bare, but all the rest is going to be filled in. And then while I have my Misty out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp on the inside of my card as well. I'm using another piece of that narwhal cardstock, and the sentiment says, "Gear up for a happy Valentine's Day." And then I've got the robot and those little gears again. Then I can begin to add my images to my focal panel. I'm going to use some liquid glue so that I have a little bit of time to adjust. And I'll set them down gently until I know for sure where I want them to go, so I have the spacing just right. So I added the girl to the left as I mentioned, and then the boy is going to go over on the right hand side. And I'm going to have their hands almost as if they're reaching out toward each other. And then I've got this little wind-up piece that I thought would just be cute to add, just to give the boy robot a little bit more interest. So I'm going to add that over on the right-hand side as well. And then all that's left is to take the little red heart, and I'm going to put that right above their hands in the center. And that adds that nice pop of color like I mentioned before. So now I can just set this panel aside to dry and work on my card front. The pattern papers that I'm using today are from the Bo Bunny's Little Wonders collection. I just wanted something that had those pinks and blues in there so that it could really be for either gender. So I'm taking the larger piece and I'm adding that to the front of the card. I did trim that down with the Lawn Fawn outside in stitch rectangle stackables, so it has that nice stitched edge, and it also has the gray border of the cardstock showing around the edges as well. And then I took the arrow print and added that over on the left hand side. I've used Scotch 3M foam tape on the back of my Foco panel, so I'm peeling off the release papers and then lining that up in the center and pressing that down into place. I'm going to keep this card very simple today since it is going to the Cards for Little Hearts card drive, which I will have all the information linked in the description bar below. But just to add a little bit more interest, I'm going to take my Spectrum Noir Ultra Sheer clear glitter brush pen and add a little bit of clear glitter to the pink and blue parts of the robot and also to the red heart in the center. And there's a little look at that, how it catches the light, just adds a little bit of something. And there's another peek at the inside. So that is going to complete our card for today. I hope you enjoyed day 3 of the 2019 Valentine Card Series. If you did, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up, and you can subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you're looking for more inspiration, there are 2 videos from day 3 of my previous 2 years of Valentine Card Series, so you can click on either one of those and check those out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. Bye-bye.